Welcome to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. Today we're going to go through all the trade targets, talking captain options. We're also going to be going through the teams that drop in 30 minutes, and we're going to be answering your questions. Let's go! G'day and welcome again to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Casey. You can find me on Twitter at Ball Boys Fantasy, joined by Luke. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. One of these days we'll get a good intro, eh? I've diving across to press buttons to say
I've muted myself in the first part of that intro, but no, we're good. We're on. This is live.
We're good.
Live TV. You can call it
live TV. Jeez, we're flattering ourselves there.
Podcasting, mate. It's all happening.
How exciting is tonight going to be, just quietly?
Yes.
We could either get off to an absolute stinker this weekend, it could be over before it starts, or we've got some pods playing tonight.
We've got some pods playing. We've got some potential vice captains playing. Yep. You know, it's there's been no footy as of yet. So first show we've done on the Friday.
You happy about no Thursdays? What do you think?
I like the Thursday night. I mean, I just love footy, and
all's good in the footy world, and we're looking forward to another good weekend.
Yes, we are. So I guess we'll go through. We've got a bit of a show lined up for us today. So we're going to be talking about trade targets. We're going to be talking about captain options. We'll also go through a little bit of news of the week. Oh, Bales! I think
good's that from Bales?
I think he's just tipped us $2. I didn't even know that we could accept that. But
appreciate that, Bales. Thanks, mate.
Thank you, Bales.
That'd be tax deductible as well, wouldn't it?
While Bales is on here tipping us legends, make sure everyone who's not already subscribed to Bales' YouTube channel, go over. He is very
close to the 1K.
He's very close to the 1K. So if you haven't already, maybe after this show, keep watching. But after the show, go and subscribe to Bales' channel over there. He's one of the many legends in the AFL fantasy community that does a lot of good work.
Very kind, mate. Much
cheers,
appreciated.
Bales. But let's go through some of the major trade targets. I was talking to you before our show today, Luke, that I think a lot of the trade targets this week, I mean, we've kind of got the news of the suspensions early in the week and that sort of stuff. I mean, touch wood, but I feel like a lot of the trade targets, upgrade, downgrade, trade out targets are kind of the same as they were earlier in the week as they are now. So we're going to go through some of the downgrade targets.
That's a good week when that happens.
That is a good week.
There hasn't been too much chaos that we've found out as the weeks evolve.
So we're going to go through the downgrade targets. So the rookies that we're going to be bringing in.
We've got to put our graphic up first, mate. We don't have the graphic on the screen.
Mate. Let's get it going.
This is an absolute shit show. Ball Boys trade targets. Let's go. Talk to us.
Got the crosshairs on these boys. But downgrade targets, I late switched last night. Yep. I've got Matt Roberts at number 1. I did previously say that Seamus Mitchell was my number 1 downgrade target, although we'll see at 5 o'clock, but I don't know if he's even going to get named this week with the potential inclusion of a Jack Scrimshaw.
Yep.
If he is there, he's my number 2, but just the fact that the quality of the bench there just scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like he's a little bit closer to the edge than a Matt Roberts. So Matt Roberts is number 1 downgrade target for me. Chin Cotter, the bread, he's in there. He's debuting.
Get around the bread, hey.
Get around the bread.
We'll have to make the time to really watch that one, eh?
Yeah, have to see how good he is. So he's number 3 to me, very cheap. I always do like to watch the rookie first before I trade them in, and the reward comes in their second game when their break even comes down.
I think you get a bit from that as well. I was listening to Holmes. He talk about this earlier today as well, and you get a lot from the first game in terms of, how's this guy's job security? Has he impressed the coaching staff? Is this a long-term thing? Because the worst thing in the world is to trade in a guy like that and
stinks
then
it up.
Realise, oh, God, that was a one-week thing. And then you're left with a guy that's like, what, 230K? What do you do with that?
That's right, yeah. So I think I like him, and he's a guy we've penciled in and sort of someone we can go for, but I think he's sort of third in that mix. Corey Wagner, he had some good moments. He's had some bad moments in the Freo game last week. He's held his spot. He's a mature ager, so there's a potential that he could be a guy that can score, but his job security is a little bit shaky at the moment.
I don't think he did himself too much harm last week. I think
there's a few bad turnovers.
There was, but I think where I was going with that is that you want to see a guy who has a dip and gets around the footy, and then, you know, you hopefully can tidy those skill errors up.
There's every chance that this game he goes way better.
Yeah, well, it's his first AFL game for a long time as well. I thought we saw enough from him, and hopefully the coaches did too for those people that picked him up last week.
And then number 5 here is Matthew Johnson. So a couple of those Freo boys down at the end there. And just to remind, like, those deeper teams, you know, the job security is always going to be a bit shakier than like a Hawks, for example. So, that's how I would rank the downgrade targets. But I think Matt Roberts should be the target for most people because I think that he's got a good scoring pedigree, and if he stays on the ground for the whole time, he could be someone you even have on your field, playing on that wing. They didn't get the defense guys back, so and he did look really good. And they've played him a lot. It's been a lot as a sub, but that kind of also shows me that they want to get him in AFL action.
Yeah, he's definitely highly touted. It's just
part of their future.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Interestingly as well, so we're talking downgrade targets, but there's a few scenarios floating around this week about potential downgrade targets in the form of going down from a suspended Tom Green to an undervalued premium as well. So do we want to talk about that here, or do you have that lined up later on?
Let's maybe do that later. I'll line that up later because
we'll allude to it.
Well, little teaser. What do they call that in the business? Just like
teaser.
A little hook. Get them on the hook. All right, let's go into the upgrade targets now. We'll go through line by line. We sort of talked about these guys on our previous podcast. We'll kind of go through them. Defenders, number 1, I still have Tom Stewart. Now, in the teams, and I'll confirm if he's in the squad, but Ryan Clark was named in the Sydney team.
Don't be telling us that.
And he is a known tagger of defenders.
Yeah,
so, yes, he is going to be playing. They're playing on the Saturday. So, he's in the team at the moment. And I believe from memory, he tagged Tom Stewart in the grand final. And held him to like a 60 or so score. So
would that be enough for him for you to shy away from him if you didn't already have him and you were looking to bring in a defender?
It's a tough one because it was still early enough in the season that like Tom Stewart's still a great buy. Like he's priced 85. He is someone that has a good buy round. And like he's going to be in and amongst that top 6, top 8 defenders for the entire season. So I still think it's. Look, if he's all you can get up to, I still think he's a very safe option with the expectation that this week he could potentially be tagged. The flip side of that is they're going back home to GMHBA, and he plays really well on that ground. He loves it there.
And they've got a big run there later in the season.
They do, yeah. So. I think it starts now, like every second week they're playing there. So I still think that despite that, he's my number 1 defender trade target, but he falls a little bit down in terms of the overall trade targets.
Can we talk about these next 3 in conjunction? So
you've got a decision to make.
Well, this is it. So we're talking defender trade targets, and 2, 3, and 4 on this list. We've got Whitfield, Baker, and Zeeble. Yes. And the reason I want to discuss them together is because, like you said, I've got a decision to make, and I actually would like a bit of feedback from the people in the comments section, people listening along. What I'm looking to do this week is I was initially looking to hold Green.
Yep.
But now with some cash in the bank, it's looking like I'll go Green down to either Zeeble, Whitfield, or Baker, which will give me enough cash to get a Chandler up to a Butters. So it would be out Green and Chandler, in Butters, and either one of Zeeble, Whitfield, or Baker.
And so this is a play. Like I think, like the whole week, I've heard a lot of people talking about like holding Green, like it's a 1-week suspension. And I still think that that's a good play.
I need to be aggressive.
But in your situation, you're ranked poorly.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, ranked not as you would like to be.
Sugarcoat it, mate. Sugarcoat it for me.
But and you've also got Will Day, so that's the other thing. So you're holding 2 suspended players, and I think that Will Day is like probably the better one to hold again because he's probably underpriced. Whereas a Tom Green is a guy that's got a bit of money on his head. There's a Perryman inclusion this week, and that mix we haven't seen much of the full healthy GWS midfield and how that matches up.
Yeah,
and also there's a lot of people that are already holding a Tom Green, so. The aggressive move in a player in someone like your situation is to trade him if it allows you to still get the upgrade. And if that's the case, which it does,
I feel it does too.
Yeah,
Butters,
I think that's
Chandler
a good play.
to Butters is an upgrade, and Butters has probably been the most spoken about person this week, I'd have to say, in terms of that upgrade. Because even though there's those flags of injury and inconsistency from previous years, he fits the bill. He's undervalued for what we know he can do. The role looks solid. He's coming off a decent couple of weeks in that role, and so he kind of fits the bill. So I feel like that is an upgrade. But I'd be interested to know where to go because Zeeble for me feels like there's some comfort in what he's done to start the year. But then if I'm looking to be aggressive, does that mean I go to a Baker who we know can drop 120s, or do I go to a guy who's just burnt so many of us year after year, and that's Lachie Whitfield? So I'm really keen to see what people have to say in the comments.
So I would rank them Whitfield. Yeah, it depends again if Aaron Hall is named.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people are saying here. So Bowers has said this, and so Hall's back. I'm interested to see what...
Is Hall back? I don't think we've had that confirmed, right?
I think people alluding to the fact
Assuming that he is, yeah. Okay.
So where do you think he fits in the system at North Melbourne here? So Hall, Zeeble, Sheasel, what do you think?
It's tough because they obviously they struggled a lot versus Brisbane. It was a very lackluster performance, but I don't think Zeeble and Sheasel were the reasons that they were poor. I think it was more their midfield. So, like, if Aaron Hall comes back, is it a guarantee that he is playing that half-back role?
Well, this is the question I have as well. Because,
or is he on a wing or something?
Well, we see in those teams that have 3 genuine defensive distributors, there's no teams where you've got 3 that are all averaging 100 plus. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So someone always suffers when you have those 3 guys that play that role. So for me, Sheasel and Zeeble is sustainable, as potentially 95 guys.
Yes, yeah.
But the minute you add Hall in there, if the intention is for Hall to be in that role, that to me isn't sustainable from a fantasy perspective.
So I think it's enough to scare me. If he is named at 5 o'clock and he's in the squad, then he falls to the bottom of that list. Okay. So if he's in there, he falls to the bottom of the list there. I still have Whitfield over a Baker.
I think most people are saying Whitfield, but how good would it be to cheer for Bakes?
He would be very fun. He's the most. I'd say he'd be
fans.
the most unique. Although Whitfield would probably also be very unique as well.
10% and 15%, something like that, or is it?
Something like that. I know Whitfield is owned by 1% in the top 1,000, and I'm just looking for Baker here. He is actually 7% in the top 1,000. So both still very unique though. Look. What are your thoughts about when Short comes back for the Tigers?
Jesus, someone else has just donated $15.
Holy shit! Okay, thank you, Brendan.
Thank you so much, Brendan.
Thank you very much.
Good
to see the beers are back. Well done, fellas. Oh, thank you, Brendan. Shout out to you,
I got to open one. I actually just realised I'm chewing gum as well, which is not a great beer thing.
We'll spit that out. Get the beers flowing.
$15. Please, you don't have to part with your cash, people. I
didn't even know that was set up there, but I appreciate people's very, very generosity, big generosity there, guys. Yeah. So shout out to you, Brendan.
Shout us for dinner tonight.
But yes, it's a tough call. I think last night you were telling me you were leaning towards Baker.
Yeah, I don't.
If Aaron Hall's not named,
was that me going with my heart and not my head?
I think there's some merit to it. I think. Look,
no, Merritt's he's out this week.
Oh, jeez. We need to find a new way to say.
I got these written down, mate. I'm telling you. I was just looking down. Yeah, that one I'll go here.
I think I was reading through Selby's guide. He's been converted. He's a Baker believer.
Yeah. I think Zave's been just pestering him, hasn't he?
Peppering away.
What do they call him? The candlestick maker.
Candlestick maker.
I like that.
Yeah. Look, I love the player. You know we love him.
Yeah.
He's my favourite Tiger. He's honestly probably my favourite player in the AFL. Like, he just gives 100% every time.
Yeah.
It's just the role. But look, if Short comes back, I actually expect him. I'll get your thoughts on this. I actually expect Short to move up to more of a wing role.
Yeah, look, I think at Richmond, they've shown that Short's a midfielder / winger now.
Because they want him kicking inside 50. Not necessarily getting the rebound 50s.
No, I agree. Especially when you've got Rioli and Baker there. So that's my dilemma this week. We won't spend too much more time on it now, but I
think a few people will be having that discussion as well, because obviously Stewart was a popular target last week, and these guys are all at that achievable price tag.
Yes, correct. Okay, mids.
Speaking about achievable price tags, these guys are maybe not.
No.
So Tuke Miller,
I don't think I've
Rory Laird
heard you talk about a player more than I've heard you talk about Tuke Miller this week.
Mate, if I could get there, I would love it, because then we'll talk about him again later when we talk about the big boys. But look, I still would say that Tuke Miller is the guy that I think, if I compare him to like a last year, one of my winning lottery tickets to ranking well was getting in early on someone like Callum Mills. I got him before his 160. He exploded in this exact round 6 against the Hawks. We've got Tuke Miller coming up against the Kangaroos this week. Excellent matchup. He's got a great run. He's got a unique bye this year. And he's just an absolute gun. He's averaged 120 before, price at 107. He ticks all the boxes, but he's still $922,000. It's a lot.
It could be undervalued, but when you talk about undervalued and achievable,
yeah. So he's the number one target for me for the midfielders. A lot of the midfielders are still quite expensive.
Bales is on the Took train this week. All aboard.
Let's go, Took! Look, I would be going there if I could myself. I'm trading him into my Supercoach team, but that's because I've got 3 trades instead of 2. But the only reason I would get someone, or I would tick off someone going to Took in fantasy, is if you've got a lot of money sitting there already and you can still do a rookie down, rookie up. So if you had $250,000 sitting in your bank from last week and you can go like like a Cam McKenzie down and a Chandler up to a Took, I would tick that off. But if you're culling like a Warpool or one of those like good mid prices, or you're sidewaysing from who's like a poor performing, like
even people who
Hayden Young or something like that.
Even people who want to shift on green this week, I wouldn't recommend going up to Took. So
I probably wouldn't go there either.
Yeah, so there'd be some people maybe that are thinking, oh, well, this is an opportunity that I can go there.
Because then you're not going to get an upgrade on the other end.
Exactly, you're costing yourself somewhere else. So just consider that as well.
Yeah, so he's a good guy if you've got cash, and so is Rory Laird. I think Rory Laird is just chuck it, mate.
Got to find a way, somewhere to discreetly place my chewing gum. It's on the floor at the moment.
So those are the 2 big dogs in the mids. I also don't mind Lachie Neale as a guy who's slightly underpriced if you can get that high. And Chad Warner, I'm still going to put in there, someone who's under 800k that I think can push close to a 100. Forward line, this is my number 1 target this week, and we'll go into my overall rankings. But Zach Butters is my dude. He's under 700,000. So he's priced at about 80, 81, I think it was. And I think he's very achievable for a lot of teams. I would advise most teams that he is probably the best and most realistic guy that you can trade in and still get rid of the rookies you want to get rid of. So he, to me, is a very, very good option.
I think I agree on that. And there's been a bit of talk, and you kind of alluded to it as well. Yes, we're kind of talking upgrade season, but it's still, a lot of those guys are unachievable.
They're hard to get to.
Just my feeling now is, rather than doing more sideways stuff or more fix-ups or more, you got to start to pull the trigger on some of these guys at some point, especially from the position that I'm in. Maybe you could be a far more conservative if you were more highly ranked.
Yeah, no one has him in the top 1,000. He's obviously he had that interrupted preseason, so he started slow. The CBAs were down, but he's getting in there more now. And he was a game changer for Port on the weekend.
Yeah.
He had a big last quarter, and it not quite the same, but it's reminiscent to me of kind of the move they made with Rosie last year, where they injected him into the middle. The team performed really well, so I don't see that necessarily changing. I think players like a Wines are slightly more out. Sometimes a Drew goes in there if there's a tag option, but when you're coming up against West Coast, you're not tagging anybody.
No.
So I think that those, young Port midfielders are going to be in there at a high rate for the rest of the season.
And you mentioned West Coast as well. You might get that instant reward.
Yeah, that sugar hit. So, his break-even's low, so he's going to start to move up. He's bottomed out in price now, so I think he is a really good target. Number 2 here, which I'm going to touch on, but I actually personally don't like the move. It's the Jason Johannesson trade.
What have you got against JJ?
And also, I'm not sure if he's a forward as well, but I'll also use this time to touch on a Chase. Is it Chase Jones?
Chasey? Yeah, Chase Jones. Yeah.
I am personally not for these kind of moves this week. I think that this is not the time of year to be doing these kind of moves.
Can you? Well, let me play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Can you see a scenario where a person's team might, dictate that this is the move?
Look, I'll say that there's a scenario where it goes quite well. Like, say you get both in, and they both average 80 from here. They both give yourself 100k.
That's good. Yeah,
that's good.
The risk reward, but
I just see the more likely scenario is that the reward is not worth the risk, that you're kind of almost just sidewaysing a rookie, because a lot of people are interested in trading like a someone like a Jinby over across to him,
so
or a McKenzie over. Like the rookies could outscore these guys. There's every chance that happens, and I don't actually feel like that's a guaranteed upgrade. Yes, their break evens are in their favour, but they can change quickly when players put on some good scores. So I'm personally not a fan of either of them. If I had to rank them, I would go JJ over Chase Jones, just because I've seen him in that role before.
Yeah.
But then you've got the Bevo situation to worry about.
So people that are going to them are effectively looking at like this. So your rookie gets you from 200k up to 500k, and then you're sideways to this mid-pricer, and he gets you to 700k. That's what people are hoping to do, isn't it? And then that's the stepping stone.
Bridge the gap there.
So I haven't played fantasy for enough years to really know, but is there a scenario where these rookies just don't fatten enough, and so you're forced to go to these kind of mid-prices to bridge that gap? Like
the only scenario that like makes me think that could be the case is because of this sub rule. So because of the sub rule and the fact that rookies are getting their cash like halted as quickly as they have when they're getting subbed off or used as a sub, that like, you know, Mackenzie and a Jimby, they were flying. They were going to make 600k easily.
Yes, yeah.
And they were going to make it by like round 9 and 10.
So that's what I mean. Are we left with?
But with that now, it's harder to see that happening. But when you've still got an option like a Zach Butters sitting there, you know, he's only 200k more expensive than these guys. Like, Zach Butters is priced at 81. There's every chance that he's a 100 averaging player and he's 20 points unders.
So I agree.
It's about the same amount of unders as I think those other guys are, but you're not going to have to trade him out.
I agree for this week. So I'm all in on it. Butters is the better option this week. I'm just looking to the future. What if you have a week there where your rookies aren't fattened? And that, I guess, you know, like I said, I haven't played enough years to know whether that is a way that it can go. But it worries me looking at my team a little bit, looking at the rookies and thinking, I don't know if you're ever going to fatten enough for me to go to an actual underpriced.
My thoughts are is we'll deal with that when we get to it.
Okay.
Like I think
week to
there's a lot of things that could happen. Like and we'll start talking about this in future weeks podcast. But we're going to start to eye off guys that, you know, maybe not this week, maybe not next week, but in 3 weeks' time might be achievable. Like someone like Andrew Brayshaw comes to mind. He's going to be falling down in price.
True.
Someone like a Giant
he got married or engaged, didn't we see?
Did he?
Brayshaw? Or are we? No, I'm talking.
You're talking Angus.
I'm talking Gussie.
Okay, yeah, no, Andrew Brayshaw.
That's the reason
for
for his poor performance. He's not focused on the footy.
He's taken away by the girlfriend. But I think, you know, like someone like a Jai Simpkin, he's going to be coming down in price. Who can go 90s? I think. There are other ways, and there will always, well, maybe not, they won't always be, but for the most part, there's usually some other options that will present itself. So for this round, I'm not so hyped on those guys. Okay,
really quickly, out of all those mids, defenders, and forwards, how are you ranking them in terms of priority?
So I'm going to go Zach Butters as my number one overall trade target this week. Tuke Miller, if you can get there and you've got the cash, don't be culling someone that you might want to have later and you're not getting a rookie off the field. Tom Stewart, I still have as number 3, really safe as House's option, very value. Rory Laird, similar situation as a Tuke Miller. And if you're super desperate and have zero cash and your red dots are piling up, then maybe you can go with Jason Johannesson as your 5th option. But for me, I'm very keen on the Zach Butters move, and I think he's number 1 by a fair way. Okay, so those were our trade-in targets, and we'll just quickly discuss some guys that you're thinking we might be trading out. Yeah, so trade-out targets, this is almost like more important than the trade-in targets at this time of year, because we can all try and get Tuke Miller, we can all try and get Zach Butters or whatever it is, but it's like kind of how you get there. That what does it cost you? Yeah, what does it cost you? And that kind of differentiates teams. So we'll go through kind of like types of players rather than specific names. We'll list a few examples, but the number 1 trade-out target to me are rookies with a poor role and or shaky job security. Yep. So those are players like Lockie Cowan, like a JVR, Constable, who's not been there for 3 weeks, Liam Jones in the back line for the Bulldogs there, Caminiti, who's punching on with people getting suspended for 3 weeks. And
Bloody Constable was in your team for 16 weeks
he's
before
still
you
there. I'm finally getting rid of him. But Kay Chandler also falls into that boat. He's probably got better job security, but his role is still a general small forward. So I still think, and because he's got money on his head, I would categorise him in this area here.
As a general rule, am I right in saying that if you can make the upgrade that you want to make by trading a bench rookie, you're obviously wanting to do that?
Yes.
So if you're looking at going to that uber premium like a Took, but it's costing you a decent on-field rookie or a mid-pricer, you're much more likely to tick off that Butters move with a rookie that's on the pine.
I would, with the caveat being if that bench rookie's got an extremely low break even and they're making a whole lot more money, then maybe you don't. That you still want to prioritize the cash. So, but yes, in general, if you can do the move you want to do with a worse rookie, then tick that off 100%.
And both the guys that you're looking to trade fit into that list. So I think you're looking to get off Chandler.
I'm moving Chandler and Constable, and I'm getting in Butters and one of those downgrade guys that we spoke about earlier.
Nice.
Ranking number 2 is the poor performing mid prices. Now, I've got in this list an Angus Brayshaw because he is not a premium by any stretch of the imagination at the moment. So Angus Brayshaw and Finn Callaghan, I think, are guys that you can move off of. Finn Callahan's got that wing role. We don't love wingers, and he's basically putting up scores equivalent that a rookie could do the same thing. He's got some money on his head, so you can do something with that. So I think they're the number 2 ranked.
Do you think that James Warple will fit into that category next week?
Potentially, yes. Yeah. He was definitely on there a week ago when I was chopping him off.
I thought you were going to get a sore hand. You were just chop suey. You were all over it.
Whilst Day's out, he's not someone I'm going to be trading, especially when he's coming off a 115. So I'm not going to be trading him out.
He could be a good one for you next week, depending on where
Number three is still where I'd be okay to trade these guys if it gives you like that perfect trade and you don't have those other guys or they don't give you the proper upgrade you want. And that is the rookies with a good role but a high break even. So those are your Cam McKenzie's, Ruben Jinby, and even Oliver Hollands. So these guys are best 22 players, assuming they're not getting a rest and managed through that sub. They have been good rookies when they play out the game. They score well, but their cash generation has been slowing down. So cash is still key to make, and if you can get these guys up to a good player, then I will tick it off, assuming you can't do it with number 1 and number 2.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
When it comes to these guys as well, I looked at scenarios where I was trading these guys earlier on in the week. But then when I was able to do some really fancy things with DPP, I had bloody arms going everywhere. I was DPP and swinging there. So I was like that. What's that thing with all the arms? That religious
Octopus?
thing?
What?
You know that religious thing with all the arms?
Oh,
is that like a Buddha or something?
Yeah, you've lost me.
Okay, I digress. So I was swinging DPP, and the reason I bring that up is because I'm a shocker for it. For whatever reason, I can't see those things you're like, bloody Rain Man, things are going around everywhere. But if you're that kind of person who is just not quite sure, really have a look at the DPP. What can you actually get to? Because it might not make itself apparent to you straight away.
You can get, with a lot of the DPP stuff we've got, you can get pretty much anyone to any position at this stage.
Like I said, my mind just obviously doesn't work that way. But when I sat in front of the computer for long enough, I got something that I was happy with, and it meant that I didn't have to move off McKenzie, Jinby, or Hollands. And just by investing a little bit more time and looking at that, that helped me out. So
explore all options.
That's
all
it.
Options.
Please do.
All right, let's go quickly through these next ones here. Now let's go through. Have you got is the sound grab here, or do I have to press a button?
What are we doing? What sound grab we got?
We're going the Ball Boys,
we can't go the big boys. Yeah, we got to look at the teams. Are the teams dropping soon?
Oh, 3 minutes. I reckon we can go
get a few big boys in.
We'll go the big boys first. Okay. Let's do that.
Okay, let me get the big boys up.
All right. I can't remember. Yeah, okay, I've got to press the button.
Yeah.
Wrong one.
What is happening?
Oh, there we go.
Well, mate, you built that up well. That was good.
Executed to perfection.
That went seamlessly.
But number 1, Ball Boys, big boy, Touk Miller.
No, you've changed that, mate.
I have. I have changed this. Well, there was a guy who was there until very early or very late this afternoon. We'll get to him in a second. But Touk Miller against the Gold Coast Suns, 4:40 Sunday. Number 1, captain target, soft matchup. I think he's ready to go big. Number 2.
It's going to hurt you not having him this week too, after you couldn't get his name out of your mouth.
I'll have to pump up my super coach again. Number 2, Rory Laird up against Hawthorn. I think he's coming good. I also think the fact that Dawson is going so well is going to attract that tag attention away from him, and he's going to get the benefit of playing a poor team like the Hawks. And number 3, who was my number 1 until this afternoon, was Clayton Oliver. Now, up against Richmond, if I knew that he was 100% healthy, he would be my number 1.
He's fully sick. We found out.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Hopefully. That's good. Sorry if you're a Clayton Oliver owner.
Yeah,
but
we're terrible people. Mitch and I saw this on Twitter that Clayton Oliver was sick, and we were cut and sick. We were very
He's versing Richmond. Not only, it would help our fantasy teams, but it also help our footy team as well. I mean,
and
Clara, you don't need to play against the rabble that is Richmond Tigers.
That's true.
They'll defeat us anyway.
Once again, get him some soup. What's that soup you like?
Get him some tomato soup.
Tomato soup, disgusting. Pumpkin would be better.
Pumpkin soup, yeah.
But just get him away from the MCG on Monday. You don't need to be there, Clary. But, for those people that do own him, he is number 3 on the big list.
Yeah, it is tough. Like, I'll at this stage, I got him at number 3 because I really liked my top 3 before that news, and I think that they're all guns, all have good matchups.
Richmond just allowed midfielders to do.
I think they're number 1. I think
he could have 50 touches.
Yeah, points for midfielders.
Could be the flu game, mate.
Number 4, I've got here Rowan Marshall. I just think he's really safe. He's averaging 114 in matchups that aren't Sean Darcy, which is, we're taking liberties here.
That's one.
But up against Carlton, they don't have necessarily a big dominant ruckman there, so I think he can go pretty good, pretty safe high floor
That's
there.
the first bloke you've mentioned that I've actually got.
Yes, is same for me. Darcy Parish is my number 5.
Loves medals, doesn't he? That
Loves
bloke?
medals. Big game on Tuesday. So high stakes at the MCG. No merit. Collingwood are tough. They have been tough to play against, but they don't tag. So I think for a player like Parish, that suits his game style a lot.
Yep.
So he is at number 5 for me. Number 6, Nick Dacos.
I reckon this bloke's going to add his first medal for the season.
I am still worried about a tag. I know
You're thinking
Caldwell,
yeah.
Caldwell or someone. It could be anyone. I want to put him high, but he is such an obvious tag target for me, and at some point it's going to happen, and I just don't want to be caught with putting the C on him. He plays the last game of the round. I don't want to put the C on him and get caught and lose a bunch of points.
It makes it super tough. I'll be interested to see people in the comments whether you would be ballsy enough to chuck the C on Dacos. There's something about it, but he screams to me the guy who just lives for that big occasion. He'd just have this one penciled in. He'd be thinking, I know I've been going big all year, but I'm going absurdly big on Tuesday.
He's so good. And if he was a VC, I'd love it. I'd be 100% putting the VC on him. With the C, it just makes me a little bit nervous. So that's why for my team, I'm going to be placing a Rowan Marshall a little bit higher, and I'll be taking him as my captain. Number 7, Tim Taranto against Melbourne. Mr. Consistency, I think he's good. Melbourne are tough, but Tim Taranto is still yet to drop under a ton. Number 8 is an interesting one. I think this is where my VC is going to go.
Mr. Rozee.
I'm going Connor Rozee against West Coast. Against the...
it's all about the matchup there, isn't it? But
the matchup.
Like you said, this week, just in terms of our teams, I don't know about your teams, but in terms of our teams, it's looking tough for VCC options.
Yeah, I think in terms of the loop options we have, I'm going to have to choose one of these first 2 games.
I don't know if I'm going to be a copycat or whether I'm going to go really ballsy and go Timmy English tonight.
Yeah, I'm tossing up between these two. I don't know.
He's number 9
He's
on
number
your
9,
list.
Timmy
So
English.
Jaden Popowski tweeted today basically a stat that says that essentially ruckman that come up against Sean Darcy go...
Average 25 less.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
But does Tim English fall into that category, or is Tim English superhuman dude that just doesn't...
He could very well be that player that those averages just don't apply to him.
Yeah.
He's just that good. In saying that, averaging 122, this is by far his toughest matchup to go up against. He did score, I think, 115 against Gawn and Grundy in round 1.
Darcy's a different beast in a way, isn't he?
Yeah, and they've got the Luke Jackson combo there as well.
Yeah.
Darcy's just super physical. I think as a VC option, because he's got a tough matchup, his ceiling, and I hate to say this about Tim English because he's a beast, but his ceiling might not be super high. So even if he goes well, I think he might cap out at 110, 115. So if you don't VC him, I don't know if you miss out on a whole lot, if that makes sense. It might be, just this nice, safe one that you can take, which is fine.
It's tough.
But for me, I think as a VC, I'm going to take a little bit of a risk this week and go a Connor Rozee and hope for a bit of ceiling with the fallback option of Rowan Marshall.
Last bloke on the list there.
Last bloke on the list there is Jordan Dawson. I'm expecting him to get a tag against Hawthorn, but on the very off chance that he doesn't, he makes the list because he's just a gun.
Yeah, he could go big, couldn't he?
I had Harry Sheezel on this list. I just want to say he was on the list, but the hip contusion and the hand and the doubt about his selection just pushed him off. I can't do it.
That's a lie. You just hate the bloke.
I think he was there ahead of Rozee at one point.
Also, what the heck does the word contusion mean? Because
it's a bruise.
Oh,
it's a bruise.
It's a bruise.
A corky, basically.
Mate, it sounds like the worst thing in the world. Did you see
it's a corky.
Demontis Sabonis?
Yeah.
Sternum contusion.
Yeah. So
it's that sounds like he's going to be out.
He's got a bruised sternum. Yeah. He's fine. Yeah.
Bruised sternum.
It's a very fancy way to say that you're just a bit sore.
Mate, these NBA players, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Okay, let's talk teams.
Let's talk teams. Let's have a look at the Friday.
I bet you $1 million Aaron Hall's in. $1 million. You taking it?
Oh, okay. Sorry, Aaron Hall?
Aaron Hall's in. $1 million.
Well, too late. Yeah, he is in.
Bale's told me in the comments.
Oh, true. Aaron Hall is in for the Suns. The good news, though, for the Hawks is that our boy Mackenzie has held.
Okay, beautiful.
And our boy Seamus Mitchell has held as well. So Seamus Mitchell is there. Scrimshaw is an emergency. Ward has been managed for them. And Lloyd Meek has been omitted with Max Lynch coming in. So they're just doing that little swap there. So
Yeah, okay.
that's interesting. So does that mean, Scrimshaw didn't make the cut?
Yeah.
So are we getting a Seamus Mitchell because he's held on because we were keen on him? Or is it kind of still the fact that we're worried that Scrimshaw's really close and he's back next week? Is that Seamus Mitchell out?
Well, I know, look, if you're in that situation where you're going down to either a Roberts or a Seamus Mitchell, you said before that you kind of had Roberts just on top. For me, it's a little bit of a flip of the coin, and the team that they play in is part of that as well. So Seamus Mitchell, if he holds his spot, he's playing at Hawthorn. They're essentially in a rebuild.
Yeah.
That for me is conducive to young players coming in and playing a decent role. Matt Roberts is obviously really is obviously really highly rated at Sydney. But then there's the fact that it's Sydney, and we know that when Sydney are back to full strength, does that then influence a young player's role? We know he's been coming in as the sub, so. The team that they play for almost pushes me a little bit more towards Seamus Mitchell.
Yeah.
Even though I would actually say that I think Matt Roberts is a better footy player overall.
I'd agree, yeah, but he's just up against better competition in terms of holding his spot.
Yeah.
I was Seamus Mitchell all week until last night's teams were announced and he was on that extended bench, and I swapped it over to Matt Roberts, which, they're very close in price.
So then that means you probably swap it back now that you've seen that Scrimshaw's out.
Now I don't know if I do. I think maybe...
You've planted your flag and you just...
Yeah, I don't know if that's dumb or not. I just seeing those two on the extended bench together, say Seamus Mitchell held his spot and Scrimshaw was also named, I'd be switching over. I'd be going Seamus Mitchell.
You don't think the threat is there next week.
but I still think that threat of Scrimshaw, he came in for Scrimshaw coming out. Yeah. Scrimshaw, they weren't sure, so they put him on extended bench.
They were Scrim unsure.
Jesus Christ, you have some belters, don't you?
Just laugh, mate. Just laugh.
And so I think I'm probably still going to go Matt Roberts, but he did look good. Seamus Mitchell, I thought, did look good.
Well, it's a moot point anyway. Aren't we all getting on the bread?
Well, yeah, he's been named. He's debuting. And,
also, shout out to the fella who tweeted us today.
It was some good gear, actually.
That was good.
You tagged me in that one. Hold on.
No, I retweeted it. It was good.
Oh, you'll be able to find it. So
yeah, I'll find it quickly.
So the Chinkota, for those playing along at home, he's been named to debut for the Blues. Coming in also is Mitch McGovern. De Koning is named out. Sard is injured. I think, was it a hamstring for Sard? Is that what?
I was going to do my Sard pun again.
You've already done that.
Sorry,
mate.
I'm not even listening to what you're saying. I'm just listening for puns.
Just thinking of the next joke you can make. I think it was a hamstring, so he might be out for another 2 to 3.
Okay.
So maybe Chincotta's just there for Saab, but then again, you could...
Wait a week.
Yeah, I'm going to wait a week on him. Steele is back in for the Saints, so that's a big inclusion for them. I wonder how that affects Brad Crouch and those boys. Tim Membry in...
I hope Steele gets subbed and just, to a 60, just managed and then...
Subbed out? Maybe they're flogging him at three-quarter time. Yeah. Sub them out.
I don't mind that. That'd be good for us.
Yeah, and Winhager's out. Bytel is out as well. So that is fine. Witts is back in. Ned Moyle is rested. I don't know about that. Bailey Humphrey has been omitted for those of you guys who had him as a rookie there. Hugh Greenwood's out. Shields has been omitted. Liam Shields omitted. That's interesting. Paul Curtis and Aaron Hall in were the interesting ones actually there as well. But no other carnage, I don't think. So everything else pretty much as we expected. I think it's just that. Obviously, Seamus Mitchell held for the Hawks and Josh Ward next week as well. So you've probably got two guys that are going to walk back into that team next week. So I'm still Matt Roberts.
Who's our boy? Alex, by the way, who
shout out to you, Alex.
Thank you, Alex, who tweeted us when the ciabatta was named. He said, "At yeast the ciabatta is in. He loafs the pill and has great fantasy breadigree."
Breadigree.
That's good.
I like that. Yeah, that's good.
Straight out of the playbook. Well done.
On you, Alex. All right, so those are the teams.
What do we got going on next?
No huge carnage here.
Do we get to do our spicy takes now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, wait, just let me get the thing queued up. I'm off with the fairies here. Okay, spicy takes. Ole, 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 ole.
Feeling Feeling
Beautiful.
hot. Okay, I'm
Spicy
gonna insist that you go first this week with your.
How spicy are your takes? Are we like talking
They're,
peri highest level of hot?
I think that they'd be like a, is it extra hot, mild? Is that
the black is the top one? Hey,
Yeah.
you know you're in trouble when it's black. That's like death.
You
Black
just might as
means death.
I'm probably like in the middle, maybe just on the lower third of
Okay,
takes here.
that's good because I'm lemon and herb still.
Okay, let's go. What's your hot take this week?
Hot take. This would be just buy a lotto ticket if this happens. No fantasy relevant player gets suspended.
Mate, that is hot.
That's hot.
The way we're going, that is hot.
That never happens.
Well, it
that
literally hasn't happened.
That just never happens when one of your players doesn't get suspended for a
okay.
sling tackle. So if no fantasy relevant player gets suspended for a sling tackle, that would be a spicy.
You've just 100% stitched us up.
I have, yeah.
Like,
We can have like 3 or 4.
Confirmed that, who's the most popular player, and Will Ashcroft's, he's getting suspended. It's confirmed.
Oh, mate, he's fattened. Trade
him out. My first hot take is that our boy LDU bounces back with a 120 plus. He's been disappointing since he's been back from his calf tightness. I think a matchup with the Suns is just what the doctor ordered, and the case of the Horn Francis's last week
A case of the horn fry. It's not something you catch.
Yeah, well, it looks like he caught something from him. But maybe it was an Adelaide thing. They were playing in Adelaide, Horn Francis around. Who knows? But he's coming to the GC. He's going to smash the Suns, and I think he goes 120 plus.
Yeah, if you're a player that is a potential high scorer, you're setting yourself for those matchups, aren't you? You're just like, oh, I'll just
that's
knock
why
out.
That's why he just turned the legs over last week.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll
go to the Suns next week. I'll
like that narrative.
I'll go 40 plus. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I'll get on board that. My second spicy take for the weekend is that the Ox Shorts will actually finally win their first fucking game in the Content Creators Cup.
Mate,
So
that you're talking about the scale, mate. That is black right there. That is hot.
like that hasn't happened this year. So
and who are you against this week?
The positive thing is I'm looking at a pretty easy matchup this week. I'm taking on this fuckwit Meichman. I think it's
Meichman?
I don't know, but I've never heard of him, and I think I've got an easy win.
Mate, you are dreaming coming up against Mitchman in the Creators Cup.
Mitchman, is it?
Mitchman.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
Say it right. Say it with your chest.
Say it with your chest. What? You've lost it.
Yeah, Kevin Hart.
Never heard of it.
It's the Ball Boys Royale, the Ball Boys Rumble this week in the Creators Cup. So
I might just match VC just for safety.
hold on. Mate, I should have told you all my good
all
takes
your plans.
here.
Don't worry, mate. I suck.
I'm gonna throw a curveball your way, something like that. I don't know. I'm gonna trade in Took just to win this matchup.
Okay,
premiums.
well, if I beat you, it'll be a spicy take. What's your second spicy take?
My second spicy take is that both Butters and Rosie go 110 plus this week against West Coast. So I don't know if that's that hot. I was tempted to say 120 plus, but
Ooh, that would have been.
I think both of them go 110 plus. And there's going to be a bloodbath over in... I think there's going to be a lot of big scores on Port against West Coast this week.
I think West Coast only had 5 listed players playing in their twos.
Yeah,
last
rough.
week.
Wasn't it like Will Schofield or something like that?
He's going to come out of retirement.
Yeah, came out of retirement.
What a good bloke.
Yeah. He did a April Fools of that, like I think it was maybe last year or a couple of years ago. But now it's actually legit.
Yeah.
That dire. So I think it'll be a bit of a bloodbath in the first game for Saturday.
Well, indeed. Should we have a look at some questions?
Yeah, let's go.
We've got a bit of time.
Questions.
Let's do it. What do we got?
Scrolling back here, the chat is alive. 147 viewers on at the moment. So thank you everyone for coming on in.
We've got some ruck problems here. So Timmy English and Tom de Koning as rucks. How do you get rid of de Koning?
That's
a tough question, eh? Robert Bank.
Look, at least you've got Tim English.
Well, we've got to get rid of our spicy takes thing.
What is Tom de Koning's price tag? Because I can't actually say that I've ever looked at him.
You're going to have to generate some serious cash regardless.
571.
That's still serious cash.
That is still
right now.
Serious cash.
Could you use Tom Green down to something mid-pricey to like make that happen if you had Tom Green? It's pretty aggressive, but
like a Tom Green to a Zach Butters. What is that? That's like, what did that give you?
I don't think that would give you enough.
Yeah, if you didn't have any cash left over,
you might even have to go all the way down to
maybe that's where you go to a JJ.
Yeah, you got at that point. I think if you've got English and de Koning, you're probably looking to be aggressive. I'm not sure you would be
Yeah, I would be trying to get off that. And
Yeah.
maybe that's where JJ move does come in. You do go, one of those players that are suspended down to a JJ. You get him up to either a Sean Darcy or a Rowan Marshall. I would be going Rowan Marshall. He's number 4 on my captains this week, so I think he'll go good.
There's been a few questions just in terms of rookies that you trade out. We kind of discussed it a little bit. Someone did mention that Mackenzie has a history of decent scores. They're playing down at UTAS, hey?
They are.
So does that swing you one way or the other if you have to trade a Jimby or a Mackenzie to get to the guy you want? Would you trade Jimby because of Mackenzie's good scores?
So if it's a question of Jinby or Mackenzie, I'm probably trading, and you can get this premium regardless because there's actually like 50k difference, I think, in price. I would be trading Mackenzie.
Okay.
Because I think Jinby has been shown that he's the more consistent inside midfield role, whereas Mackenzie sometimes get inside mid-time, but sometimes he's playing forward, hence the forward status. So he's sometimes playing a forward role in a poor team. Even if he plays the full games, there's inconsistencies in his score.
Even though Jimby got karate kicked in the face last week, and we'll probably
I'm gonna chalk up that's kind of why he got rested or managed and subbed out, that he was beat up in that game. So I'm hoping that if he doesn't get poked in the eye and karate kicked in the face, that he doesn't get subbed.
You know the defense for the poke in the eye? Did you hear this when you were a kid? Just do that for me. Go like that.
No, what are you going to do?
No, I'm not going to do it. But if you go like that, never get poked in the eye.
Oh,
so if you anticipate a poke in the eye,
just a quick
get your
little
fins up.
sharp fin. Yeah. Okay. I'll remember that next time.
I can't believe Jimby didn't do it, eh?
Yeah, mate, come on.
Was it Dangerfield? That boot would have just missed him. He just straight up there.
Should have listened.
Yep.
But yeah, I would go Mackenzie out for that reason. But it's a close call. I could be wrong there, but he has been inconsistent even when he does play full games.
Butters or Zeeble? I think we're both going Butters.
Butters every day of the week for me.
I might be going both. You never know.
Yes.
Never know. Jimby to Mackenzie and Jimby and Mackenzie to Stewart and JJ. What are you thinking there?
I don't mind it because it's like a double upgrade. To Stewart.
Has acknowledged in the comment as well that Clark's probably going to impact Stewart. Does that mean
I'd go Butters over Stewart? And
Okay.
a lot of people would have the DPP to do that.
Yeah.
Like move a Sheasel into defense or.
And then you could
Zeeble
likely
into
still
defense.
then go Stewart the next week, potentially.
Yeah, Stewart, I don't think he's going to get away from you, I think.
Especially if he gets tagged this week.
Yeah, Butters, what's Butters' break even here? I don't have it in front of me. But I think his break even's like 75 or something like that. So he could start to increase in price a bit quicker than someone like a Tom Stewart, and with the potential tag, if you can do that. But I do tick off the general thought of that trade, just because you are doing an upgrade on top of a sideways move. So I think that's okay.
This is an interesting question. It's just kind of a general question. Thoughts on simply doing rookie fix-ups this week? So the example is Davey to Roberts and Long to Wagner. I think if you go there, and Mitch, you obviously just heard had a pretty concise answer.
Yeah.
But I think the issue there is you just leave yourself 1 week behind everyone else, because everyone else is going to be scrambling to at least get to those guys that we consider are fallen premiums, maybe like a Butters who can go up. I just think you're leaving yourself a little bit short there. You need to make a move this week.
You need to make a move this week. You need to be aggressive. It's upgrade season. Like you said, you're going to fall behind. But also, who's to say that trading a Davey to a Roberts, like there's every chance that Davey walks back into that team this week. We don't know until Monday, I don't think. And there's every chance that a Matt Roberts is dropped the week after.
Which would be
like
painful.
These guys rookies who are trading in right now, like they didn't start on the team in the round
and
one.
there's a reason for that.
There's a reason for that. Their job security is probably not as good as the guys we're trading out.
Yeah.
So you're falling behind for not that much of a gain, in my opinion. So I would be definitely trying to make an upgrade, even if that means carrying a few red dots. These guys, like for an example of a Noah Long, I think he's done a hamstring. He might be back in 3 weeks. Yes, it sucks. It's not generating cash right now, but I think that unless that downgrade makes you enough to do an upgrade, I wouldn't be just sidewaysing rookies.
Agreed. Thoughts on bringing in Connor Rosie this week?
Yes, I would. I'm predicting he goes 110 plus.
Well, I think you get that instant. What's Rosie priced?
Rosie is priced at $7.91. His price at figure is 92.
Break even. Do you have his break even?
Break even is, what is his break even? I think he just went 108. So his break even is 92. So I'm more confident in him than a Zach Butters in terms of just the floor.
Yeah.
Zach Butters is cheaper, $100,000 cheaper, which is significant, and a break even of 75. So if you were playing the cash game, Butters is, I think, technically more value than a Rosie, but Rosie is probably a safer buy in terms of his
More
role.
highly owned too.
More highly owned. You've got that safety net. He's also probably someone that doesn't dive into tackles and, his shoulders don't fall off quite as often.
He's like, the Lego man. You just pull their arm out.
Yeah, just off. Yeah,
no, done.
Yeah.
Sorry. This one here, would you trade Stocker or wait till around the buys? I think Stocker's a guy that, depending on the structure of your team,
He could go.
Yeah, that's what I think he's a guy that you can use to get to the guy that you want to potentially keep.
Yeah.
But it's probably, we had him and kind of that Jaden Hunt category where it's probably not your number one priority, but this all depends on the structure of your team as well.
It does, yeah.
If your team's just looking red hot, then the moves that you're looking to make this week could be very different to the moves that we're looking to make.
Yeah, like if a Stocker gets you to a Tuke Miller, but like a Cade Chandler gets you to, I don't know, someone not as good, like a Chad Warner or whatever, if say you're shopping around in the midfield, then you get Stocker out and you get Tuke Miller every day of the week. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But if you
Especially
can do
if
the
you're
move with a
holding
rookie, then I would move the rookie first.
Yeah. Bales, a little insight into his trades. He's going to go the Wolf to talk. So exactly what you were talking about.
Hey!
So
good minds. Good
great
minds think alike.
And he commented that a little while back. So I think he was on top of that one.
Okay.
We've got a couple of recent questions here.
Let's hit us up.
Would you go so Mackenzie to Roberts and then Callahan to Bags, or would you go Callahan to Roberts and then
Mackenzie to
Grundy
Roberts and Callahan to Baker?
So basically, are you bringing in Baker or are you prioritising bringing in English if you don't have him?
That's a good question. So Grundy, obviously Max Gawn is back into the side.
So it probably depends who you own at the R2, do you think?
So this person obviously owns Grundy, it looks like. I'd be trying to give Grundy another week, especially this week with English go up against Darcy.
Yeah.
So I'd be trying to get rid of Callahan first.
Okay.
But
would you
hopefully,
go to Baker?
and you just kind of cross your fingers that Grundy is still the main ruck with Gawn kind of being eased back in after a period on the sidelines. So I think Grundy should be in your trade plans, but maybe next week, not this week, just because you're hoping that he's got a good matchup against Richmond as well. Like we're going up against, we don't have that many good rucks in our team. So
no, I would agree, especially not at the moment. This one's like more of a statement. Rochelle and Butters it's a question. Are they more stepping stones? Can't see either of them being top 5 forwards. The interesting thing about
I disagree with that. Butters could definitely be a top 6 forward.
Well, this is the point I was about to make. The interesting thing about being a top 6 forward is you don't actually have to do too much.
What do you have to do to be a top 6 forward?
Think about who was a top 6 forward. Isaac Heaney was close to it. Was he a top 6?
90.
He might have.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you don't actually have to do
I think that was
much.
with some of the DVPs being taken out.
Of course. Okay.
So I think maybe 95 is the mark you're sort of hunting for.
Which really, you're not asking a great deal. You're not like you're asking a guy to be a top 6 mid.
Well, actually, I have a stat on Zach Butters. Last year, when in games he averaged over 40% CBAs, he averaged 95.5. There's your top 6 player right there.
And you take that.
It's another year on, and look, it's clear to me that Travis Boker's out of the team, out of the centre bounces now, and sometimes out of the team when he's playing as a sub. So I think that 40% CBA mark, 50% CBA mark for Butters is very achievable. He could easily actually be a 100 averaging guy. Like I don't think that's out of the realms of possibility. So I don't view him as a stepping stone. It could go wrong with injuries, as it could with any player you trade in. But I think that's a risk that I'm willing to take.
You can't be thinking about that. And mostly I don't know my ass from my elbow, but I think that in terms of like when we talk top 6 line or, top 8 in their line, we talk about wanting to have the person that's in the top 6. But if you have the person that's 7 or 8, like...
They're not, it's
exactly.
not the end of the world.
Difference can then be just captain and VC scores. Yeah. So we talk about top 6, but you could really throw it out and say top 10 and you're there or thereabouts.
Yeah, try. I would always advise for everyone, this is the best exercise that I think everyone can do in terms of improving their AFL fantasy trades, is have a list of what a player's price is, what that means in terms of like a priced at figure,
average,
and then what you project them to do, and then work out the difference between those two things. And then you'll be able to see who is the most value of the guy you're trading in. And that's what I do. And when I look at my trades here,
so you're telling us that's the best thing to do because it's what you do. Or?
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm a gun. All right. That's
humble as they come as well.
So I'm raked at 8,000, mate. So I think, and when I look at Zach Butters as someone who I think can average mid-90s, and he's priced at 81, and this is where you differentiate between someone like a Tuke Miller. Like if Tuke Miller comes out, he's priced at 107. If he comes out and scores an 85, that's equivalent to Zach Butters coming out and scoring 60.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing because he's priced 25 more points ahead of him. So always keep that in mind as well.
We'll get 2 more questions in.
Let's do 2 more.
I think we're both a no to bring in Radigalia.
Yeah, no, not now.
That's
not
a
now.
no.
He's gone. I think he had an out of the box game last game, but again, it was against the rabble that was the Hawks. So I'm not keen on that. Break even to 0, but no.
Last one, a few names that have been getting around. Would you downgrade Hollins to Chincotta to then take Davey to Chase Jones?
I think that they're longy. I think there potentially could be something better you can do. I don't feel as though getting Chase Jones in is much of an upgrade. Yes, it's an upgrade from someone like a Davey.
Yeah.
But there's every chance that Chase Jones is like he kind of might average the same as someone like a Jinby. And does that put him on your field? I think there's something better you can do in that situation, in my opinion. So I don't think I can tick that one off. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like it's a compromise. It doesn't feel like a full upgrade, does it? Even though I
don't think your team's is much better in that situation.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
Davey might be back. The trouble is that they are playing on the Tuesday, and we don't know until very much later in the weekend
in terms of loops as well.
So I think you just leave Davey. He seemed to be he started round 1 in that team. He looked really good. He managed, so he might be back in that side. And I just think you could probably do something better.
Yeah, no, I agree on that one.
That will do it for us.
Good opportunity to, just to say thank you to everyone for tuning in and much appreciated. Those people who donated, which is crazy. Hang on to your cash.
Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Really appreciate all the support and the. If you haven't subscribed yet, please
hit that subscribe button. Go subscribe to Bales HD. Yes, I think it is.
Yeah, Truly Bales. Is it Truly Bales?
Truly Bales HD. There it is. Yeah. Go subscribe to his channel. Once you've done subscribing to our channel, give this video a big thumbs up. And we will see you guys next week when the mighty Mitchman defeat the Ox Shorts. We'll catch you guys later. See ya.